All eyes on Nvidia. Earnings on Wednesday, the last of the Magnificent Seven to report. Shares this month up more than 10%. Analyst Pierre Ferragu of New Street Research recently raising its price target on the AI giant to 148, expecting reassuring signals in the earnings results. Their stock is up by about 0.5% this morning after a decent rally on Friday. Pierre Ferragu of New Street joins us now for more. Pierre, just go through sort of base case expectations for you and the team coming on Wednesday.
Yeah, so on Wednesday, investors got shook off a bit by all this noise about the Blackwell family of chips, the next generation chips being delayed. And so that created some kind of like nervousness around the stock. And to us, the reality is that Nvidia is still in the same situation. All buyers are increasing their capex. The supply chain is increasing capacity very steadily. So it's very reasonable to expect Nvidia to do better than what they guided 3 months ago, and to guide for the next 3 months in the same vein, like above current expectations. So we think the numbers are going to do fine. And then the second thing is all investors are going to ask on the conference call about the Blackwell delays. What does that mean? Does that mean like growth is going to slow down? And our view here is kind of like counterintuitive. The reality is that when you launch a new chip like Blackwell, it's consuming more of your supply capacity. You need more HBM chips per GPU. You need more like CoWoS packaging capacity per GPU. And so if the new chip is ramping slower, it's actually easing up capacity constraints. And so what we think is that the management is going to explain on Wednesday that while Blackwell might be delayed by 6 to 8 or maybe 12 weeks, Hopper, the previous generation of chips, is actually going to continue to sell very well, because we're still in a world in which many people, many teams want to have as many GPUs ASAP. And so if the next generation is not ready yet, they'll keep buying a lot, as much as they can, of the previous generation.
Pierre, I wanted to ask you a few questions that I don't think will be answered on the call on Wednesday, and it's what's happening further downstream. I had this conversation last week with Bloomberg's Mandeep Singh, and he built things out for us a little bit as well, and I'd love your thoughts too. When you hear from their biggest customers, they are still bulled up on investing in this cycle big time, without a doubt. You just get the sense, though, that investors just on around the edges might be losing patience with the story, that they actually want to start to see that investment turn into real bottom line profit growth. Pierre, do you identify any kinds of investor restlessness further downstream with the end use case for AI?
Yeah, I think you're spot on. That's becoming like the key questions, the key concern for investors. And that's the right way to look at it. So we're doing our best tracking down, who's doing what with AI. And so far, we think signals are extremely positive. Like, you look at what Facebook can produce in terms of numbers of efficiency gains driven by the migration of their recommendation engines on larger systems. When you hear like companies like Walmart telling about how much efficiency gains they gained from AI, I think we are still in a phase where people are getting excited about it, and we are in that kind of like almost like contradictory situation where today, if you don't invest in AI, whether you are like a Walmart using it or like an Amazon or a Google deploying the infrastructure, you're taking big risks, because AI is very powerful and evolving very fast. So I think we're fairly safe in terms of the news flow coming in. But there is another reality, which is that we are getting into 2025 into a world that is going to spend like $150 billion on AI chips. And the key question is going to become, again, well, what's next? Can Nvidia's business grow significantly from there again? But we're not going to have any visibility on that for at least, the next 6 to 9 months.